What's going on, team? Welcome back along to the channel. It is back to that time of the year. The internationals are back, and this weekend we've got the Rugby Championship returning for your viewing pleasure as well. Of course, it will be South Africa up against Australia over in South Africa, and of course Argentina will be at home taking on New Zealand in the other matchup for the weekend. Just the two games, so we're going to have a little bit of a quick preview. I want to do this early in the week, but I've been a bit ill leading up to this weekend, so now we've got a chance. We'll spit something quick out for the weekend. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, as per always. And of course, let's have a look at the lineups and see what we think is going to happen. Now, South Africa versus Australia. This one is going to be, I think, the most interesting game of the weekend, because we've got two very unknown factors about these two sides. Of course, Australia, they haven't had the best Super Rugby season regardless throughout, and of course they're losing a lot of key guys. Will they use this to prepare for a World Cup, or will they use this to prepare for the future of Australian rugby? I think the first option there is definitely going to be the way they go. They're going to exhaust every option they have got to play their best side to get ready for a Rugby World Cup later on this year. The South Africans, on the other hand, have kind of gone with a bit of both. They've gone with a real look at depth going into the Rugby World Cup, but they've also gone for a real look at depth for future seasons as well. Sending a lot of players from their main best side, I guess you could call, over to New Zealand early, and playing possibly what we would consider a lot of fringe guys in this match versus Australia. Is that a good idea? Is it really going to help them or hinder them? Short term, certainly I don't think it's going to help them massively for a competition like the Rugby Championship, because it gives them a bit more potential that they could lose this matchup. But Rugby World Cup time, they're going to have to play some minnows. Of course, they're playing the All Blacks as well in their pool, but they're going to have a deep squad that they know they can rely on, that know their systems and know how they play to prepare for that matchup. So I think it's very clever that they've gone with a bit of a 50-50. What I'm really excited to see in the side is the 9-10 combination of the Springboks. Yankees and Yankees. That's right. Herschel and Elton are playing at 9 and 10, starting for the Springboks. That is really going to be interesting, especially for the commentary team who struggle just with one Yankees, let alone having two playing right next to each other. They've gone with a bit of form as well. I think Andre Esterhuizen has been pretty good in Super Rugby this season. Deserved start, and he's got experience outside him as well, with Creel starting at 13. It's explosive outside backs too. Makazole Mapimpi, fantastic for the Sharks, I think, for the last couple of years, and is one of their best finishers in the side, and possibly could play next weekend as well. They've got Nkosi on the other side, and Warwick Gallant, who has been in impressive form for the Bulls throughout Super Rugby. So you can't argue here that Rusty Rusmus has gone with a very form-looking backline to start this first matchup against the Australians. It's a good-looking front row, and I think a lot of people are excited at the prospect of seeing Kuboka start for the Springboks. He's been in the squad since 2014 or something ridiculous like that. 15 or 16 Springbok sides without actually starting a matchup, which is just outstanding. It's crazy, but he's going to get a chance here. Hopefully, he will get a decent time to come straight in. Now, they've also got a bit of difference as well. They've got Vincent Koch coming back into the team. Of course, he plays over in Europe now, so they're bringing out those guys as well, but we'll see a lot more of those, I think, in the future. Tendai Tawera will be starting alongside him, Manami Naikani. That's your front row. Very experienced, that front row, which I like. Etzebeth and Ludziaga. How good is that to have those two in the middle? And they've still got a lot of experience. We talk about the guys they've already sent to New Zealand, but they've still got such ability and talent in the rest of this team. Elstad, Tatoy, and Lowe will start in the back row for the Springboks as well. That's a really good pack. A really, really good pack. Now, you'd expect a lot of that will travel to New Zealand and get game time as well. But that is a really, really good pack to start against Australia, which I think could be the difference, because that is a performing pack. It's a big pack. It's a bully pack. It's a very, very good team that I think will be too much for the Wallabies to really get in the way of. Now, what I'm really interested as well into the reserves is that they've got Corbus Reinach and Steyn starting in the bench as well. So we're going to see those two guys come in. Of course, a lot of talk about them coming back to South Africa and back into South Africa, especially Steyn. That's going to be an interesting one, to how he's going to play in this team, I guess. South Africa's changed a lot, hasn't it? They do play a bit more of an attacking game, and they've got enough structure in that side that they could do something interesting from it. So really interested to see how those two guys go and what they can offer the Springbok side. What they're up against is a bit more of what we know. Now, we know what this Wallabies team have got. Now, of course, there's no Israel Folau, so that is a big chunk of their game gone. Tom Banks will get the number 15 jumper. He'll start there for the Wallabies. And it's interesting they've gone with Dane Haylett-Petty to start on the wing. instead of fullback. I mean, it's what the All Blacks have done, haven't they? Have guys like Ben Smith and Geordie Barrett, which we'll see later on, starting on that wing. Reece Hodge, not really a winger as well, is it? So they kind of got two centre come fullbacks playing on the wing with Tom Banks, who's just kind of like a winger himself. Your back three is very fullbacky, isn't it? It's not going to give you that X factor explosiveness, and maybe that's because they're expecting the Springboks to play a style of game that is going to force them to take a lot of high balls and that sort of play. They've gone for a bully of a midfield, haven't they, with Kurandrani and Karevi playing at 13 and 12 respectively. Kurandrani had a better season we've seen from him recently, but of course Samu Karevi, he is going to be a man to watch. And coming up against what the Springboks have got in their midfield with Esterhuizen and Creel, that is going to be a really interesting battle. Those guys are going to be on point when it comes to defensive work as well. Nick White's got the nod at 9. I mean, we haven't seen him for about 4 years, have we? Good player, and I suppose a lot of you Northern Hemisphere people will be saying, yeah, he's played pretty well up here as well, but he's coming straight back, straight into that Wallabies environment and straight into a starting role. How much time, I guess, is he going to take to get a bit of a continuity with his fellow teammates? Brennan Foley will be outside him at 10. That's going to be an interesting one as well. We'll get here on the bench, so have that coming on to support that team. Aitana Sarani will start at number 8, so it's a debut for him, starting at the back of the scrum for the Rebels, number 8. So that's interesting. They've got him there. I guess they've really got to expand on that, don't they? Michael Hooper will start on the open side, of course, and Salakai Loto will start at number 6. Now, he's been amazing. Good strength, good battle, and I think that back row battle between these two sides is going to be really, really intriguing to see which team comes out on top. We know what the Wallabies offer. They've got a couple of new look faces in there, so that should be interesting. The second row, Isaac Rodder and Rory Arnold up against what the Springboks have in Ebenezer Beat and Lutiega. That is really good. I think the Wallabies have got a really good second row, but I think the Springboks have an incredible second row. Future looks bright for that Wallabies partnership. I think Isaac Rodder really is a man that is going to be a mainstay in that tight 5 for the Wallabies in the future. Kipu will start on the tight head side. Flau Fainga, the try-scoring phenomenon for the Wallabies, for the Brumbies, I should say, not the Wallabies, will start at number 2. And James Slipper on the loose head side, who hasn't seen a huge amount of rugby, mainly off the bench this season, will be an interesting part. Looking quickly at their bench, it's going to be interesting to see how this sort of involvement will add to this team. John Ulysses, Harry Johnson-Holmes, good to see him coming in. Of course, he's had a good season, I think, at the Waratahs, has Johnson-Holmes. Taliana Tupou, that's going to have a big impact for the side. Simmons, Dempsey, yeah, not too much there. I kind of like to see Salakai Loto and Naisarani play the whole match because those guys are going to make an impact big time. Whether they'll be more impactful off the bench than starting, we'll have to see later on. Backline though, Genia, Tamua and Beale. That's going to be an interesting one because they will add a lot. Is Tamua up to speed? We've seen him at the Rebels and he was, he was bang average. Really bang average. So he's got a lot to do as well. For the Wallabies if he's going to get up to speed. Currently Beale was always slippery as a snake. So a lot to go under that bridge yet, but I think they could get a bit more impact off the back reserves than they are going to get off the forwards reserves, apart from Tupou, who was always going to bring that extra bit of impact off the bench. But really overall, we're not sure what we're going to get from the Springboks. I think we got a pretty good idea what we're going to get from the Wallabies. And it's been a disappointing season, and I really struggle to back this Wallabies team to do anything special. If they're at home, maybe a bit more of a chance, but I really like what the Springboks are looking towards. And I really like what they've offered in Super Rugby this season as well. Been a lot better year for them, and I think they could do something special in the Rugby Championship this year and build towards what could potentially be a very good Rugby World Cup for them this year as well. It is all going to come down to continuity. And I think if the Springboks can nail that, they will take this game quite comfortably. Both sides are going to struggle with it early on, but I think the Wallabies have a bit more of combination knowledge in them than the Springboks will have. So it's going to be who adapts sooner, who adapts quicker, and who really gets on their game plan nice and early. I've gone the Springboks to win this one, though. I don't think the Wallabies are going to get the job done. You just can't transfer such terrible form in Super Rugby to internationals to be great straight away. I like the Springboks. I like what they're offering. I like the way they're preparing. And I like the way they've got good depth there. And you look at that side and go, it's not too bad to start off with, is it? It's not a bad squad. And they've got all those guys behind them who are rearing to go as well. I'm going to Springboks to take the first one, the first game of the season, the Rugby Championship season, that is. And I'm going them to win it by 6 points. Okay, so the second game of the weekend is Argentina versus New Zealand, or the Pumas versus the All Blacks, whatever way you want to slide it. This one should be an interesting one as well. It is at home for the Argentinian side. First, we'll look at how they're going to go post-Jaguares and whether this team is going to be much different from what we've seen in the Super Rugby final a couple of weeks ago when the Jaguares took on the Crusaders. Will we see this in replay or a similar effect of that match we've seen a couple of rounds ago in Christchurch? When you look through these two sides, you would say that there's pretty much a big similarity to what we've seen in that Super Rugby final, with a majority of the side being made up from the Jaguares and the Crusaders for that matter, to a certain extent. Probably the All Blacks less so than the Argentinian side themselves. So we've looked through the side, and I think an area that's going to be really interesting to see how this team performs is the front row. Now, the Jaguares have got a reputation, I guess, throughout the Super Rugby season. The set piece from the scrum was not their strong suit of the game. Now, they've made one pretty notable change there. Chaparro starts on the loose head side, Creevy in the middle, of course, but it is Figalo coming in to play on the tight head side. So I expect that it's going to shore up their scrum a little bit more than we've seen from them in the Super Rugby. Of course, got a very good second row with Petty and Lavanini at 4 and 5. And the back row is all the amazing stuff that the Jaguares were in Super Rugby. Matera at 6, he's a phenomenon. That guy is just crazy good. Cromer will start at 7, and Ortega Decio will start at number 8. That is a big area where this Argentinian Pumas side could get an advantage over what the All Blacks have in their camp. I guess there's a lot of players in the back row for the All Blacks, but they're not probably at a high quality. I think Matera himself is one of the best back row players, easily probably the best number 6 going around in World Rugby right at this time. And Kremer and Decio have been very good alongside him as well, but Matera is the key man in that back row, and that pack is going to rely a lot on how Figalo helps the scrum and how Matera gets around the field and becomes a bit of a terror for the All Blacks side at the breakdown and open play as well. He's very, very good. Reminds me a lot like a guy like Quagga Smith as well. Exceptional when they're on, and this guy most certainly is on, and I'd imagine even more so when he pulls on those blue and white hoops. Into the back line, there's a second change that could be interesting to see how this Pumas side goes this season. Kubeli will start at 9. He's been excellent throughout Super Rugby, but Sanchez, Nicholas Sanchez comes in, and we see him in the Southern Hemisphere for the first time in the whole season. Effectively, he's been away playing club rugby in the Northern Hemisphere. Now he returns into this Argentinian setup. A very good player, top shelf, world-class player. But he hasn't played with these guys for quite some time. I'd expect, he's got big expectation here to direct this game around, and his battle with the All Black number 10, which will be Bowden Barrett, is going to be massive into how this game goes. Yes, the team can set it up, their pack can perform a little bit better than we've seen in the past, but can they set this back line alight? We've seen the guys, Benicia, Miotti for the Jaguares have done very well at setting this back line alight, which is very talented, very skilled. And when you look through it, you've got De La Fuente at inside centre, Orlando at outside centre. Those two very, very crucial to the attacking outlets of the side. But it's the back three, Mojano, Moroni, and of course, Emiliano Boffelli. He is massive for this Argentinian side in the Rugby Championship and beyond in this season of rugby. So that's a big question mark. Can Sanchez get the best out of those guys like we've seen from them during Super Rugby? Because that is pretty much the best the Jaguares had to offer in a back line as well. I'm disappointed not to see guys I really, really rate the likes of Cancelliere, who was with the Jaguares this season. I noticed they got Tukelet on the bench, which you'll probably see at some point to bring Boffelli possibly into the back line, a bit more up in the line as opposed to being at the back. Boffelli is a guy that can just create chances from absolutely nothing. We've seen the two wingers in the Super Rugby final weren't their best, but they are very destructive. Moroni and Mojano can certainly do a lot with them as well. So big expectation of what Sanchez can get out of these guys, and if he can create a space enough for them to do the damage as well. And then, of course, can they get that platform out of their scrum, which is going to be under the pump. But I expect to see a bit of a change with guys like Figalo coming in at tight head prop. Into their bench, and it's very good, isn't it? It's very good, this Argentinian bench. Montoya will start as the reserve hooker. Vivas and Medrano will be the reserve props. Alemano, what a guy to be able to bring off the bench as well. Lozana will be the back row replacement. And then the back line is Kura as the scrum half. And there is Diaz Bonicia as the fly half replacement, and Jacqueline Tukelet will be their outside backs, probably full back replacement for the Argentinians. So that is a very good bench, and you're not going to lose much by bringing these guys on, but I really question how good is this front row going to be, and how good are we going to see from Nicolas Sanchez? That's the question 1 and 2, and it's the 2 non-Jaguares players in the side that I'm putting most of the pressure on here to perform, because we know that this team is good enough now to compete. We know that this side is going to give them a bit of a headache, but can they pull out all the stops? They've brought in a couple of guys. They've brought in a couple of these imports. Essentially, they're like imports. Can they make the difference at taking this team up to the next level? We know Sanchez is brilliant, so I'm hoping we get big things out of him. A very strong bench as well, and the All Blacks are going to be pushed all the way. I have no doubt about it, because this one is in Argentina as well, which might make a bit of a difference. Will we see the party atmosphere? Will we see the big rave going out of the tunnel like we see the Jaguares in that semi-final versus the Brumbies? I hope we do. I hope we see that high intensity and that passion that we know and expect from Argentinian sides throughout the years. So that is the Argentinian side, the home team, the Pumas. They look very good. They look very, very good. Should you be worried? Any All Blacks fans out there, myself included? Yeah, I guess if you're really that passionate about the All Blacks winning every single game out there, yeah, you should well be worried, because this team, I think, is good enough to pick up the victory. Who will they be against, though? That is the question that is all going to be asked this weekend. Now, the New Zealand side, the All Blacks side, here is a good reason why I think we might see a bit of an advantage to that Pumas pack, because the All Blacks are going with Tuanga Fasi and Ta'avao, two relatively inexperienced. I mean, it's not Moody and Franks, is it, at that propping section? So they've got 2 newcomers effectively, very few tests between them. Dane Cole's in the middle, which I think should certainly shore it up a little bit. But I think the Argentinians could get a little bit of advantage there if they can assert themselves early and get a bit of dominance in that front row. It's very good though. Cole's good to see him back in black and starting again, which we haven't seen for quite some time. Brodie Retallick will be alongside Patrick Tuipulotu. That is massive. Retallick has to have a big game. He has to drag kicking and screaming Tuipulotu up to a great performance, because he needs something for the rest of the season to be good, really, because he could very much falter here, and he's up against 2 very, very good second rowers in Petty and Lavanini, and this is where that type 5 could really dictate how this game goes. The back row, another big battle here. I'm looking forward to seeing Fafita, Kane and Savia starting at 6, 7 and 8. And I mean, look what they're up against. Matera, Kramer and Decio. That number 6 battle, Fafita and Matera. You've got 2 very similar guys there that can really kickstart a game, given the half a chance that they may well have. They're fast, they're strong, they're explosive, and they can offload as well. So I'm expecting huge things from the 2 number 6s this weekend. Savia at number 8. Now, sort of talk about who's going to stay at that number 8. He's got the nod here. I expect there's no Kieran Reid. So a good chance here for him to possibly cement a bit of a place as the number 2, number 8, or possibly the future number 8 for the side. He's a very good runner, and I think he's going to have a great game. He's going to be alongside Fafita, kind of like 2 Materas in that back row for the All Blacks. So that's going to be huge how they perform. But I think that front 3, the props especially, Ofa Tuangafasi and Angus Ta'avao, those 2 going up against what the Argentinians have in Chaparro and Fagalo. And then it is, of course, how Tuipulotu manages to go up against the guys like Lavanini and Petty. And then, of course, that big battle of the number 6 jerseys, Fafita versus Matera. That's going to be massive for this matchup. The back line, well, it's interesting, isn't it? Smith and Barrett, no question marks there. They'll be looking to gain the incentive over what they have from Sanchez. Kubali will be very good. He's got to be on top of his game, because Smith can let you get away with it, and he won't take 2 chances as well. He will punish you if you don't shut him down at any given chance. The big question mark for me, though, is on the left wing, with Geordie Barrett getting the start in the number 11 jumper. Now, I really did prefer to see him at fullback, and I really would have thought they would have gone with Ben Smith on one wing and Geordie Barrett to fullback, to making the best of what Geordie Barrett can do. So that is an area that they could attack. Now, you've got to look at who he's up against. He's going to be up against Maroney. Barrett, Maroney, I mean, I just can't help myself as seeing advantage Argentina there in that situation. Barrett really doesn't like the wing. He's happy at fullback. I don't even want to talk about him playing at 10. Don't even get me there at all. But on the wing is not his best position. And I think he could be a little bit found out You've got to be happy with them going back, though. I guess they have a wing that can cover the fullback very nicely alongside Ben Smith, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Smith and Barrett swapping places quite a lot, and even Bowden coming into that mix as well, and possibly having a real mix about with the Barretts and the Smiths and everyone between 10, 11 and 15. Could be an interesting mix-up to see where those guys actually do play the most minutes as they shift around the game, because we know they're all very capable. I don't want to see Geordie at 10, but I think we are going to see a little bit of that, because come World Cup time, he is going to play there. I have a really bad feeling he is going to play there for the All Blacks against the minnow sides at the Rugby World Cup later on this year. The midfield partnership, Laumape and Leonard Brown, can't argue with that. It's probably Laumape not form, but Leonard Brown definitely form. Of course, no Sonny Bill Williams injury. Of course, he probably would have played in that instance, but Laumape, good for him. Is he becoming Malamonu 2.0? And the fact that he can't really get his best out of Super Rugby, but then transforms into a super player when it comes to the black jersey. We will find out this weekend and see how he goes. Of course, he's got Barrett inside him. He's got a Barrett beside him as well, and Geordie and Bowden. So they're all over the place at the moment. But his partnership with Leonard Brown, who I think is a very, very concentrated player who just doesn't do anything wrong. I really like Anton Leonard Brown. Big here we go question for the right wing, though. Sevu Reece. Yes, Sevu Reece. He's starting on the right. We're going to find out what he's made of, aren't we? We're really going to find out what he's made of. He is explosive, he is exciting, he is just intense. But can he foot at international level? Questions to be answered. I think he's going to go all right. He's got a lot of protection around him. He's got the Smith at back. Ben Smith, of course, he's got a midfield partnership that he's not used to. In fact, the rest of his back line he's not actually used to, because there's no other Crusaders here at all. There's Hurricanes, there's Chiefs, there's a Highlander or two. He's not used to any of those guys. So Sevu Reece is really out of his comfort zone here, and he's really going to have to put the pressure on to get a good performance out of him. This is going to make or break him. This is going to be Sevu Reece for the future, or Sevu Reece have another season of Super Rugby, please. That's what we're going to see from him. And the question marks is how he's going to perform up against Bojano. Very good player as well. Much more experienced. We are going to see what Sevu Reece is made of this weekend, I do suspect. Ben Smith, the fullback, you can't argue with that. He is about the best in the world. And the number 15 jumper, let's just hope and pray he stays injury-free. We have a look at the bench, and there's going to be some interesting factors coming out of this bench. Liam Coleman, great for him to be on the bench for the All Blacks once again and have some game time. He'll come on at hooker, which is going to... Yes, it's going to weaken that scrum, or that front row, a slight bit more as well. Atu Moli will be alongside Nepo Laulala. Neither of those two guys have really played a lot of rugby, so I think we might see, as much as it pains me to say, guys like Ta'avao and Tuangafasi may play a good 60-plus minutes, 60, 65 minutes, before they'll want to throw a Moli and Laulala, because those guys aren't really match-ready at this sort of environment. This game's close. This could really play into the Argentinians' hands. Into the rest of the substitutes, Himopo will come on. Great to see him. He's an enforcer. He will go very nicely alongside Retallick. I expect we'll see Tuipolo to go off. Himopo go on. Jacobson, the other reserve for the back row. Here we get to see again what another guy's made of at international level. He's been brilliant. Who's he going to come on for? That's a big question. For Fifita, I guess it's going to see how they go, how they perform. Salvia, I expect, will play 80. Sam Kane, you've got to say, I expect will play 80 as well. And the question will be, when does Fifita come off? He's going to be the guy I do expect that will come off for Luke Jacobson later on. Brad Weber. Brad Weber, the feel-good story of Super Rugby this season. He can come on as soon as he likes. The only thing I don't like about this way the team is made up is that we're not going to get that combination of Aaron Smith and Josh Ioane playing together. Now, the possibilities is who's going to come off first. But either way, if Barrett does make way for Ioane, and either which way it is, whether it's one of the other Barrett coming off or Ben Smith shifting around, either way, when Ioane comes on, are we going to see Aaron Smith there with him to reunite that combination? Because the likelihood of what's going to happen here is we're going to have Brad Weber and Josh Ioane coming on together. Now, we've got a one-test All Black from about 20 million years ago, and you've got a debutant coming on together, different Super Rugby sides, no real combination made there. That's going to be an interesting factor coming on. I would like to see potentially Ioane coming on first with Aaron Smith. Keep that combination together for 10-15 minutes before you bring Weber on. See how Ioane, I guess, acclimatizes to the game. See if he gets into it, he kind of wears in, but he looks comfortable, then you make the shift for Weber. As much as I want to see Weber play as many minutes as possible, I think Josh Ioane needs to have Aaron Smith inside him. Just that combination together, they could do great wonders for each other to start off Ioane's test career and then bring Weber on. And Weber's going to bring a lot more spark and a lot more danger around the breakdown, which will give Ioane more space as well, which if he's comfortable, if he's settled in, that is going to be when he's going to be at his best. The other reserve, number 23, will be Braden Ennor. Now, this guy can just come on whenever he likes. I mean, if anyone's not performing, he's got options, doesn't he? Sevu Reece has an absolute dumper. Get him off as soon as possible. Geordie Barrett, well, I mean, what's going to happen with the Barrett boys? I mean, is Bowden going to go to fullback, Ben Smith to the wing, and Geordie go off? Or Geordie go to fullback, Reece off? Or someone going to move into midfield? The options are endless. I mean, when you got Bowden, Geordie, they can swap around between wing, centre, or midfield and fullback, and then Ben Smith can play on the wings at fullback, and Bowden obviously can play at the back as well. Then you've got a guy like Braden Ennor that can play in the midfield, he can play in the wing, or he's even played at fullback himself. You've got real versatility here, so no one is safe. And you look at this and you say, if any of those guys have a stinker, they're gone. If Geordie Barrett doesn't like his time in number 11 jumper, Braden Ennor will be all over it. And I think that kid is certainly one to watch out for a huge talent in the future. Now, I've gone on too long about this All Black side and this Argentinian side as well. So, wrap it up here. It's going to be a good match. It's going to be a close match. I think Argentina has a really big chance, a massive chance. And if this game is close enough, going into that final 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, they could take this on the fact that I think they're going to gain dominance as the game wears on in the pack. We're going to get guys coming on that aren't match ready. They haven't played many tests. They're going to probably be at least an equal, if not have their dominance straight away in the front row. So that could be an area they could dominate all game long. They can kick. Their line-out will be good. They can definitely play for the scrums. So they've got a lot going their way at the moment to the Argentinians. If they want to play that style of game, they get themselves in good spots, take their kicks, take threes, mount up the score, do a Sharks against the Crusaders, and just take every point on offer and get this game into the last 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Reserves will come on, and that is when we could see some interesting points, because those reserves, in the forwards especially, Himopo, bar him, I don't have the greatest confidence in how these guys are going to go. Big question marks, Moley and Laulala. Those two guys, big question marks is how those guys are going to go as well. So, Jacobson, I think, will definitely do his job. He'll go around, he'll smash rucks, he'll take short balls and just run into tackles. He's not going to do much wrong. Himopo's going to be his impactful self. But yeah, Laulala, Moley, their front row, and they're going to be under huge pressure by that point when you're going to have Vivas Medrano coming on, who are just match ready to go. That is going to be a big telling point for me. I do think the All Blacks are going to win it by a whisker, but I don't think it's going to be quite as big as I've seen in the media and betting agencies over here, where it's up to like 13 to 16 for an All Black victory. I think it's going to be much closer, and I'm going the All Blacks to win this one by 4 points only. It's going to be a close one. It's going to be tight, and I think the Argentinians are going to come firing back late on after the All Blacks do get a little bit of an assertive lead and take control of this one. But the reserves, I don't think, are going to have the impact that the All Blacks coaches would like to see. But we will see how they go, won't we, this weekend? It's going to be an interesting matchup. We're going for a Springboks win. We're going for an All Blacks win. That is where we're sitting. Wallabies and Argentinian Pumas to go to a loss in the first game. But really wouldn't surprise me if these Pumas actually do put up a great display in the opening weekend. That is me, though. Longer than usual, longer than always. As always, preview to just 2 games for this weekend's action. Hope you enjoy the rugby you're watching this weekend. If you do enjoy the video, hit that thumbs up, of course, and I'll see you all potentially for a little look at round 2 and other action coming up throughout the weekend. International Rugby's here, and we are in the countdown to the Rugby World Cup. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time. Until then, take care.